Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to Season 11 of the Attrition Sim Race Campus Oval Series presented by SM Racing Products. Tonight, we are here for round number 3 of the season up in Hampton, Virginia at the .39 mile or .63 kilometer long Langley Speedway. The track that has only found its way onto the ASRC Oval Series schedule 4 times in the past, despite it being one of the free pieces of content here on the iRacing.com platform. And so far, the drivers who have taken home the win at this speedway, Garrett Hess did it all the way back in season number 1. Tyler McRae back in season number 4. Mind you, that would be all the way back in 2021. That's the driver that nearly took home the championship last season. Then all the way back in season number 7, Coy Haslew was the driver that got it done here at this speedway. And then last season, once again, Tyler McRae is the driver that made it happen here at this short track up in Hampton, Virginia. And speaking of Mr. Tyler McRae, making his reappearance here in the series of almost 2 months of absence, and he's going to be the driver that takes home the pole here this evening in the number 99 Sim Speed Shop entry. That said, though, drivers just about to make their way on down to the starting lineup here. We have 14 drivers signed up for tonight's event, just one shy of tying last week's record. And one of these drivers is a driver that signed up for this race quite literally 15 seconds ago. I just saw his name go onto the entry list as I was talking about the track history. So I'll tell you what, this is bound to be one heck of a race. But how about we go ahead and take a look down at the starting lineup and see how things shake out for this 100-lap event here this evening. Starting out on the pole of tonight's event is the driver I just mentioned in the Sim Speed Shop number 99. That's going to be one of the Droppin' Bombs racing drivers. That's the 99 of Mr. Tyler McRae. Starting his outside, it's going to be that rookie driver in the Bobby McCarty Race Cars throwback entry. That's going to be TJ Henson, rolling it off position number 2. Third place going to go back to the number 85 Marconi Setup Shop entry. That's going to be our current championship leader of Brian Sabelski, rolling off position number 3. Fourth place going to go back to league admin Mr. Jason Gardner in that 93 machine, back in position number 4. And rolling out position number 5, rounding out our top 5 here for our starting lineup. That's going to be another one of the Droppin' Bombs racing drivers making a return here this season. That's going to be the number 10 of Sean Patrick. Rolling it off position number 6, that's going to be the Woo car. Number 78, that's going to be Mr. Derek Murphy, rolling off in position number 6, rounding out our third row. Making up row number 4, though, that's going to be the B4 Rules Gaming 51 machine of Mr. Eric Gahn, followed by the Justin Wilson Memorial entry. That's going to be the 14 of Nico Morelli. Rolling off position number 9, that's going to be the Advanced Auto Parts number 2 of Patrick Dixon, with Jason Mong in the 65, rounding out the top 10 here this evening. 11th place going to go back to the 4 machine of Bill Watkins, that Castrol GTX entry, followed by the 17 of Curtis Prince in the Buffalo Bills livery. 13th going to be going on back to Mr. Dave Sierrick in the number 56 machine. Last minute entry. We have not seen Mr. Sierrick out here in a pretty long while, but he showed up on to this race with quite literally 15 seconds before the call to the grid. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that 56 machine and see how he manages to roll things off here this evening. And finally, rounding out the tail end of this 14-car field, that is going to be the number 9 of Nick Cashman in the Blackburn Southern Barbecue entry, the driver out of Lakeland, Florida, rounding out our 14-car field here this evening. So this now makes it 2 weeks in a row that we have broken the driver count record since all the way back in, I want to say, season number 7. That said, though, iRacing.com pace cars off, green flag up in the air. We are rolling here at the Langley Speedway. Tyler McRae off to a really nice start up there on the inside line, but we are 2 by 2 all throughout the rest of the field as we take home lap number 1. Drivers, for the most part, trying to get things single filed out, but we are still 2 by 2 back further at the tail end of the field, looking down here at Patrick Dixon and Jason Mong side by side for the top 10, final position of the top 10, I should say. Dixon is going to clear that 65 machine. He's getting that advanced auto parts machine up there, and he's going to get real loose coming out of 4 and scrape the inside wall. That is not going to bring the caution flag out, but that is going to filter Dixon all the way back to the tail end of the field, just like that. Further up in the field, side by side between Nick Cashman and Jason Mong. Cashman down in that number 9 machine. Actually, looks like he is the 51 on his actual livery, but the number 9 machine on our timing and scoring tower. Eric Gahn just in front of him is the driver that is actually being scored as the 51 machine here. So something to keep in mind out here on this speedway. Right now, Eric Gahn running up in the 8th position, down 1 position where he qualified. But the other driver that's also riding in a 51 machine, Mr. Nick Cashman, is our most improved driver so far this evening. Only 6 laps in the books. But as he passes Jason Mong right there down on the inside of turn number 2, Nick Cashman is going to be up 5 positions from where he qualified, just like that, breaking his way into the top 10. And now he's got a little bit of ground to make up. There's a nearly a little bit over 2-second gap between Cashman and our top 8 drivers. That's going to take a little bit of work to make that back up. But again, we're only 8 laps in the books here this evening. Still a long way left for these late model drivers to go. Further up in the field, battling up for the podium position, drivers duking it out. That's TJ Henson leading this battle in the number 62, followed closely behind by Brian Sabelski and Jason Gardner. I'll tell you what, race fans, this battle looks a whole lot like the battle we were seeing last week at the South Boston Speedway, and TJ Henson's going to get real loose coming out of turn number 2. Excuse me, turn number 4. Henson's going to lose only one position. She actually did a really good job of hanging on to that 62 machine despite how sideways it was, but she's going to get real slow going down into turn number 3. That's going to cause a checkup behind her. Jason Gardner side by side with the Dropping Bombs racing number 10 of Sean Patrick. And Nico Morelli, he wants a piece of this action here too. Everyone's trying to get around Jason Gardner while he's stuck up on the high line, because that is definitely not where you want to be here at the Langley Speedway. And I'll tell you what, Gardner now back to 6th position, just like that. For us a moment ago, he was battling inside the top 3. Now finding himself all the way back outside of the top 5, looking his way in. Further back in the back of the field, there's actually a battle going on at the tail end of the field as Patrick Dixon in that advanced auto parts entry is having more handling issues, it looks like. He has fallen all the way back to 14th, allowing Dave Sierrick our little bit of a wild card entry here in that unsponsored number 56 machine to get around him. Now Sierrick is able to start seeing what he can do to catch up to the rest of this field. He's got a long way to go though, 1.6 seconds back from any of these other drivers in that number 56 machine, but hey, sometimes that's just how it goes. We haven't seen Sierrick out here in competition, and I want to say probably about 3 months now, so definitely great to see this driver out here in the field once again, but might have to shake a little bit of that rust off. And there's Patrick Dixon making the pass happen. Dixon making his way back up to the 13th position as these two duke it out for the final position on the speedway. 2x2 still, as Dixon on the high line has to check up a little bit, still manages to scrape against the wall a little bit. But these two drivers are throwing everything they've got each other, even if it is just for 13th. Further up in the field though, the story is still the same up at the front. These drivers from 3rd on back to about 7th are throwing everything they've got at each other. TJ Henson leading this little bit of a pack. Sean Patrick, Nico Morelli both right behind her, and Jason Gardner's in the picture there. Derek Murphy also involved in this battle. These 5 drivers in a little bit of an island all by themselves right here at the moment. TJ Henson leading the front of it, but then it's going to be Sean Patrick and Nico Morelli both right behind her. And Jason Gardner is keeping pretty good pace with these drivers as well. Last time by, a 16.01 for Henson, a 16.07 for Patrick, a 15.98 for Morelli and Gardner. So Morelli and Gardner both are actually faster than the two lead cars in this pack. That at a track that is as tight and as narrow as this Langley Speedway is, and of course they have no banking whatsoever to work with, makes passing quite the difficult endeavor, but not impossible by any means. And I'll tell you what, as Sean Patrick begins to close the distance on that number 62 machine, I would not be surprised if we might end up seeing a little bit of bumper being employed here, especially as that is the number 2 Advanced Auto Parts entry of Patrick Dixon getting lapped up there, so that is going to cause the rest of the field to have to stack up a little bit, and sure enough, Sean Patrick has closed the gap to TJ Henson, and Nico Morelli is getting right up in there too. Dixon just trying to keep it up on the high line, stay out of the way of our lead lap drivers, but that's going to bunch them all up just a little bit here. Only 23 laps officially completed, going to be 24 as we cross the line here. And already two drivers being scored a lap down, Dave Sierrick and Patrick Dixon, both a lap down. Of course, Lucky Dog rules are in effect, so there is the opportunity for these drivers to get those laps back. And you can see up there on the high line, that is Dave Sierrick trying to stay out of the way here of these lead lap drivers as well. Neither of these lap cars want to be interfering with what is going on up at the front of the field here. Still though, Patrick trying to find a way around this 62 of TJ Henson. Of course, Henson, this is her first series here, or her first season here, excuse me, with ASRC. None of these dropping bombs racing drivers, may they all be veterans here of the series, none of them have competed with the driver of that 62 before. And I'll tell you what, TJ Henson has been showing a lot of speed over the course of the past couple of races. She is a force to be reckoned with here. And she's putting up quite the battle with Sean Patrick here. And Patrick getting really loose coming out of 4, but regardless, he is going to make the pass on the 62. That is going to move Patrick up inside the podium position for the time being right now. And a little bit of bobble just behind. A little bit of a bobble for the 14 of Nico Morelli, and that's going to allow Gardner to pull alongside, going on down into 1. Now Gardner's finding himself back inside the top 5 here. 30 laps in the books, 70 left to go here, and these drivers are battling like we are at 10 to go. We still have a pit stop to get sorted through one way or another. That's just something that's going to have to happen, especially if this race manages to stay green. Last time by though, the fastest driver on the speedway was actually the driver all the way back in position number 10. That's going to be Mr. Jason Mong. Last time by a 15.88, fastest lap on the speedway. Going to the driver back in the 10th position. Mong has had... He's a driver that's generally a little bit quiet out here on the speedway, but last week he managed to take home a second place finish, so maybe a little bit more of a wild card than we give him credit for. Came into tonight, qualified in the 10th position. That is still where he is running at the moment. But to walk away with a second place finish last week at the South Boston Speedway was a very impressive run by the driver of that unsponsored 65 machine. And coming into tonight's event, looks like Mong is being scored 5th in the championship standings, so he actually still has some ground under his feet to be working with here. It's just the big question of how that's going to work out in the long run of the season. Still got a long way left to go here. Up at the front, Brian Zabelski is putting the pressure down on Tyler McRae. Seemed like for a while McRae had a pretty considerable lead, but Zabelski has closed that right on up in that number 85 machine. Got it down to 0.2 of a second between these two drivers. And of course, Zabelski, he is the championship leader coming into tonight's event. But he's been in the battle for the championship with McRae for the past 2 seasons. And for the last 2 seasons, Zabelski has come up just a little bit short. So even if Zabelski is up 2 races on McRae and 2 wins on McRae right now, I'd imagine this rivalry is just going to be as strong as ever here in season number 11. Right now, these two drivers, a pretty darn considerable gap between the two of them and the rest of the field. Actually, it's about a 3-second difference between them. Tyler McRae, Ryan Sabelski, 2/10 of a second separating them. Then it's going to be 3 seconds between Sabelski and Patrick back in the third position. And both of these drivers coming up on some lap traffic here. That's Dave Sierrick staying up high. And there is the Castrol number 4 of Bill Watkins, also at risk of going a lap down here in that Castrol GTX entry. The real question is just how much of an effect are these lap cars going to have on this battle for the lead? Sabelski could really use any help he could get here, but we have trouble. Caution flag is out on the speedway, and word from race control is that it's going to be the 93 of Jason Gardner around here on the speedway. Caution flag out here on lap number 42, and sure enough, it is going to be for the league administrator himself, Mr. Jason Gardner, going around. Let's see if we can't take a look back here and see what happened to bring out this first caution flag of the evening. Taking a look back here, Jason Gardner right on the tail of TJ Henson, going down into turns 3 and 4, and oh, little bit too hot into the corner. He slams on the brakes to try and not dump her, and ends up dumping himself in the process. Definitely unfortunate to see for the driver of that number 93 machine. That looks like that might have been a little bit of a wild ride for him. Taking a look back in here, just did not expect Henson to slow down as much as she did, going down into 3 and 4, and that's just about all she wrote there. Let's see if we can't get a ride on board with that number 93 machine. See what he saw going into that incident. He's really pushing that late model with everything he's got. He realizes a little bit too much speed in there. He slams on the brakes, and that just upsets the balance of the car, just like that. Let's actually see if we can't take a ride on the rear end of TJ Henson's car here. Looking back at Jason Gardner, you can see how close that 93 machine is. And just tries to lock it up to avoid making contact, and that's all it took. So, still under caution here at the Langley Speedway. Lights still on the iRacing.com pace car as we get everything sorted out here. Every single driver on the field, with the exception of Patrick Dixon, have come down pit lane. Everyone except Dixon has made a stop so far this evening, and everyone took him here on lap number 43. Might as well, no reason not to. Pretty darn close to the halfway point. And if you're going to need a splash of fuel, you might as well get it now. But it does look to me like Dixon is being sent to the rear end of the field here. Lights are off on the iRacing.com pace car. So everyone on the speedway has at least a splash of fuel in their late models, probably also new tires. It's going to be the call for most of the drivers on the field as well. Tyler McRae, Brian Sabelski still going to be your front row. Then it's going to be Sean Patrick, TJ Henson 3 and 4, and Nico Morelli and Eric Gahn rounding out row number 3. Lights are off on the iRacing.com pace car though. We're going to try this thing one more time. Green flag up in the air. Really great run for Tyler McRae going down into turns 1 and 2 yet again, but we're 2 by 2 further back in the back. Nico Morelli trying to make that pass on Brian Sabelski. Use the opportunity he has while Sabelski is stuck up on the high line, and he is going to make it work here. Sabelski falling back outside of the podium for the first time here this evening, and we are 2 by 2 further back in the field. Drivers starting to get it sorted out here, but the two Jasons are actually currently battling it out. Both drivers currently a lap down. Gardner in the 93, Mong in the 65. Seems like somehow or another we always find the two Jasons battling it out here, but Gardner is going to walk away with the advantage in this battle. And right now, Gardner actually still has to get around that 17, the Buffalo Bills entry of Curtis Prince, if he wants to get that lucky dog position. So right now the 17 is looking in a good spot. He just has to hope for another yellow flag to fly, and he will be put back on the lead lap here. New fastest lap of the race just got set, though, and that honor is going to go to Sean Patrick in the Dropping Bombs race at number 10. New fastest lap at a 15.65. And as we cross the line, it looks like he is going to hold on to that title, so a little bit faster than Tyler McRae right now. But how will that speed hold up in the long run? Because if there's one thing Tyler McRae seems to be really dang good at, it is managing his tires. As it looks like further back in the field, maybe a little bit of trouble. That 17 machine of Curtis Prince is sinking like a rock, and it looks like he's just stuck up on the outside line. But he just lost the spot to Dixon, Gardner, and Mong over the course of one lap, and now he's finding himself nearly at the whims of Bill Watkins as well. Not how this 17 machine wanted his evening to go, because he just lost the opportunity to have the lucky dog just like that, and now that title is going to go to Patrick Dixon in the Advanced Auto Parts number 2. And Dixon is having a lot of trouble here. Looks like he might have gotten loose out of 4 once again and ended up in the inside wall. He's still got it pointed in the right direction, but now he's getting once again pretty dangerously close to being lapped, and you can see there is heavy damage on that right front there on the number 2 machine. He's having a lot of trouble making that late model stock turn. And mind you, the leaders are coming up right behind him. They are coming down on him incredibly quickly here. And once again, you just heard another scrape against the wall for Patrick Dixon. Things are going to be getting real dicey real quick here as McRae, Patrick, and Sabelski all battle it out for the podium of this race. All three of them. Another scrape against the wall for Patrick Dixon up there in the Advanced Auto Parts number 2 as he finds himself going a lap down once again. All of our lead lap cars going to get around to him without too much issue though, and now we're down to 0.2 of a second between the 3 drivers in the top 3 here this evening. 60 laps in the books, 40 laps to go. Everyone on the speedway is good to make it to the end of tonight's event, except for Dixon, who just found himself falling all the way down to the tail end of the drivers currently 1 lap down. So now Gardner is finding himself once again as being the driver in the lucky dog position should we have another yellow flag fly out here on the speedway this evening. And sure enough, it looks like Patrick Dixon's going to be pulling that lane all on down to pit lane, so he will be getting the fuel and tires necessary to complete this race, and that should end the pit cycle for everyone as Sean Patrick ends up in the grass. Sean Patrick's around caution flag out on the speedway, and it looks like Jason Gardner will be getting his lap back here this evening. Just like that, caution flag out on the speedway. I feel like we watched that one unfold in slow motion a little bit here, race fans. And as that iRacing.com pace car goes by, that actually means Sean Patrick is going to be going a lap down from this incident, as we have late models going everywhere in the grass to get around this stopped car. I don't know if that's necessarily the line you're supposed to take under caution, but that's okay. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Let's take a look back here and see if we can't see what brought out this second yellow flag on the speedway. Looking back at Sean Patrick, running position number 2 at the sign of this incident. Right behind him, the 85 of Brian Zabelski, and oh, just a little bit of a nudge upset the balance of the rear end of that car. Tries to lock it down, ends up in the grass. And from there, not a whole lot you're going to be able to do to get that late model stopped. Let's take another look back here. Just the slightest little nudge between these 2 drivers was all it took to upset the balance of the car. He tries to hang on to it, he tries to save it, but on that grass, that's just, there's no way you're going to keep that car in control. So just like that, caution number 3 out on the speedway, and just like that, Sean Patrick has gone down 10 positions. No, excuse me, 7 positions. Not quite as catastrophic, but still really bad for the driver, that number 10 machine. That could potentially be his race over just like that. Tyler McRae, Nico Morelli, TJ Henson going to be your 3 drivers up at the front of the field here. Nico Morelli currently being scored up 6 positions. But still, that's actually not the most improved spot right now on the speedway. That's actually going to go back to the 9/51 on his actual paint scheme down there of Nick Cashman, who is now finding himself up 8 spots here this evening. Of course, there is still the option of drivers getting waved around the pace car, getting sent to the tail end of the field, and all of that sort of stuff that needs to be sorted out before we go green again. But right now, it's looking like Nick Cashman's going to be finding himself up 6 positions here this evening. Lights are out on the iRacing.com pace car, though. We've stuck it back 2x2 once again. It's going to be Tyler McRae and Nico Morelli, your front row. Then it's going to be Eric Gahn and TJ Henson for row number 2. We have shaken things up here. Let's see what we can do when we go green flag racing once again. Green flag up in the air. Tyler McRae, again, a really solid start going down into turn number 1. He's got that inside line locked down without any sort of trouble. The real battling on the speedway is happening just behind them, though, as drivers still 2x2. Jason Gardner battling it out with the 51 of Nick Cashman going down into turns 1 and 2. He's going to clear that 51 machine. So Gardner's actually still finding himself a lap down here despite the caution, so it looks like he didn't get the lucky dog after all. There is possibility that iRacing's automatic race control detected as having an incident when he went into the grass to avoid that spin. So that might actually be why we didn't see a driver get put back on the lead lap here. So definitely really unfortunate for that number 93 machine. Now he's really got to push to hold on to this spot and just hope that there's another yellow flag so he can get back up onto the front of this thing. Further up in the field, though, 2x2. TJ Henson, Nico Morelli, and there's the 51, the real 51 of Eric Gahn down there, battling it out with Nico Morelli as well. Morelli in that 14 machine. Stuck up on the outside line, really not where you want to be here, especially as he gets down on the apron and gets really loose there. Morelli losing a little bit of time, but fortunately not losing any positions there. He's still hanging on in that number 14 machine. And there's the number 93 of Jason Gardner. Mind you, Gardner is not currently on the lead lap. He's just pushing that late model with everything he's got. Might as well. Every position he gets, even if it's not actually for position here, it will at least give him some breathing room in that lucky dog spot and try and guarantee that he gets it should we get another yellow flag. But 25 laps left to go here at the Langley Speedway. There's not a lot of time left for these drivers to be working on prayers here. Sure enough, though, that's exactly what Jason Gardner has to do here. Hope and pray that there is a caution flag, because last time by, he set a 16 flat. That's 0.3 of a second slower than our race leader, Tyler McRae. That pace is not going to be enough to unlap himself just on raw speed. Side by side with Nico Morelli now. He's going to make a little bit of contact with the side of that 14 machine. And that's going to move Morelli back a little bit further. Still not a pass for position, but now Morelli has to deal with Sabelski and Cashman right behind him. Now Morelli is finding himself in a position where he could actually be in danger. Currently running back in the 4th position. He wants to hang on to that top find, if nothing else. 21 laps to go here around this 0.39 mile speedway, and the closest battle on the speedway is the battle here between Morelli, Cashman, and Sabelski, and a little bit of contact there between Cashman and Morelli. That's going to cause a checkup. Sabelski falling back a little bit in that 85, having to run a little bit of an awkward line as he had to check up for that 51 of Cashman. Cashman's going to send it way down low, almost all the way down on the apron there to get around that 14 machine, and Morelli doesn't have much of a choice but to let it happen up there on that high line. Morelli just trying to hang on to whatever he can. In trouble. Late models around. Caution flag number 3 out here on the speedway. That's going to be the 10 of Sean Patrick and the 78 of Derek Murphy around to bring out caution number 3 on the speedway. And it looks like Patrick Dixon may have also been involved in the advanced auto parts number 2. That's at least the word that we're getting from the truck. Let's see if we can't take a look back here, excuse me, and see if we can't see what all went on here. So taking a jump back, and the truck is wanting to show us Patrick Dixon here, who looks like he is all by himself in this number 2 machine. 10 down to turns 3 and 4. Nothing looks out of the ordinary, no. Another one of those self spins for Patrick Dixon, and that's entirely independent from the incident that actually brought the caution flag out. So even if that incident between Derek Murphy and Sean Patrick didn't happen, the caution flag would have flown regardless. So it's 2 different incidents on the speedway at the exact same time here. Let's see if we can't take a look back here, see it, the incident between Derek Murphy and Sean Patrick. Murphy a little bit loose going into 1, but he has to check up for the 14 of Nico Morelli and just gets a little bit of a nudge from behind from Sean Patrick. Then Sean gets some extra help from the Castrol entry of Bill Watkins as well. So a little bit of just a cascading event there. Let's take a look back at this. Morelli battling it out with Sabelski, and just a little bit of a checkup behind him, and there's actually the 65 also involved with Jason Mong, and then Bill Watkins just hooks the rear end. Just a little bit of Sean Patrick there. So taking a look back at that, let's actually ride on board with Bill Watkins here and see what he saw going into this incident. Right on board with the Castrol GTX number 4 of Bill Watkins. Just trying to push the best he can. He sees everything happening. He slams on the brakes, but it's just not enough to get that late model stop there. Not quite enough to make it happen, so that's going to be what brings out caution flag number 3. Lights have been put out on the iRacing.com pace car, so we're getting ready to try this thing again here. Tyler McRae, TJ Henson, your front row. Then it's going to be Eric Gunn, Nick Cashman. Positions 3 and 4. Nico Morelli and Brian Sabelski going to be row number 3. So Cashman is on newer tires than anyone else in the field back in that number 9 machine, so we could see him make some serious moves here. 51 and 51 side by side. Green flag up in the air. Tyler McRae again, an amazing start going down into 1, but we were 3 wide back in the back for a second there. Nearly 3 wide between Morelli, Sabelski, and Cashman. That could have been real bad real fast. More contact being made there as Sabelski tries to push his way through the gap. And he manages to make it happen, but we are still 2 by 2 all throughout the field here. Really a battle for the 6th position between Curtis Prince and Nico Morelli. Actually, no, that's Morelli battling side by side with Jason Mong. Jason Mong is not on the lead lap in that 65, and he's going to get real loose coming into turns 3 and 4. I'll tell you what, 11 laps left to go here. These drivers are pushing with everything they've got as the big double high five goes up in the air from the flag stand. 10 laps left to go here at the Langley Speedway, and they're going to make contact. They're going to make contact, and Jason Mong's going to end up down in the grass. Caution flag not going to come out. He's got it pointed in the right direction. He's got it rolling again here. No caution flag going to fly for that incident. And last time by, Tyler McRae just set a new fastest lap of the race with a 15.64. So he saved those tires to the end. He knows what he has to work with here, and TJ Henson's going to have her work cut out for her to catch back up to him. Currently looking at the battle for 5th, though, this is going to be Eric Gunn and Curtis Prince. Prince falling back just a little bit, and Nick Cashman is up 11 positions right now, battling side by side with the 85 of Brian Sabelski, our current point leader. He's going to lose that position pretty handily here. I think he might have worn his tires down a little bit, but he still should have some speed in that 51 because his tires are about 20 laps newer than anyone else on the lead lap right now. He's really trying to muscle his way past Zabelski here down on the low line. He's using every ounce of traction that car will give him to get around that 85 machine. And he is going to clear him. That's going to move Zabelski back to the 4th position, but Zabelski is not giving up on this quite yet. Zabelski now has the preferred line to work with here, and he's closed the gap back down to 0.10 of a second. He's going to try and make the move going down into turn 3 and 4. Side by side for the drivers battling it out for the 3rd position. Cashman's going to fall back a spot. He almost thought about trying to do the crossover there, but not quite the momentum necessary to make it happen. 4 to go here at Langley Speedway. Going to be 3 to go as McRae crosses the line. But the battle we're all watching is the battle for the 3rd position. The final spot on the podium between Nick Cashman and Brian Zabelski with 3 laps to go here at Langley Speedway. Cashman starting to fall back here a little bit. Now Eric Gaughan's actually coming to the picture in that number 51. That's the B4 Rules Gaming 51 machine. 2 laps left to go here at Langley Speedway. And Jason Gardner is actually going to fall, or no, that's Curtis Prince that's fallen back real heavily in that 17. Curtis Prince with some problems there. He's going to fall back to the 7th position as the white flag comes up in the air. One more time around the Langley Speedway for Tyler McRae, and currently he is leading by 0.8 seconds. But coming through turns 3 and 4, Tyler McRae going to be the driver who takes the win in his first race of the season in the Sim Speed Shop number 99. I'll tell you what, race fans, he may have been gone for the past couple of weeks, but he has shown these drivers why he has a championship to his name and why he was a really close runner-up last season. Connor McRae takes home the checkered flag here at the Langley Speedway. What an incredible display by that Sim Speed Shop number 99. I hope he doesn't intend to run this car again next week, because he just messed that thing up doing his burnouts. That said, though, drivers making their way back to pit lane, so we will be back in just a moment here with some interviews with your top 3 finishers here this evening. Don't go anywhere, race fans. We'll be right back. Alrighty, race fans, welcome back to the Langley Speedway. Welcome back to Season 11 of the Attrition Sim Race Campus Oval Series presented by SM Racing Products. Tyler, You've been out of the season for a couple of weeks now. You come back, you take the pole, and you take home the race win. How are you feeling now that everything's said and done here tonight?
Yeah, it was a fun race. I was just telling Sean at the end that I think he had more of a fun race coming through the field and passing people. I mean, even though I enjoy a win, it's fun. But you come here to race, and I think that's what it's more about. But it was a good time. I like racing with all these guys, and I think there was some little hot tempers at the end, and I can understand hot tempers happen. I have a hot temper sometimes, but it's nice that some people during the race did say, "Hey, that was my mistake," or this, and giving each other room. So that's a pretty good deal. So overall, a pretty good time.
Yeah, definitely a heck of a race and definitely a pretty crazy one. When that final caution came out with about 15 to go, were there any doubts in your mind you might not be able to take the checkered flag home this evening?
Nah, I saved tires. I saved tires up to the first caution, and then after I got tires, I didn't run them hard. I ran hard like every other lap maybe or every couple laps, just kind of make sure I had a cushion to save them. Because at the end I tried to run I think I ran like a 6:41. It's like 5 to go or 6 to go or something. I just wanted to see what I had left. So um yeah, it's kind of what you got to do here. That right front just gets punished. The setup, whoever builds the setup in iRacing, the right front gets punished. It doesn't turn properly, like center out. I mean, center to late exit, and once you get to late exit, it overturns. So, but it was fun. I mean, it was a fun time racing with the guys. It was close, and I miss it. I've been off for a while doing other stuff, and glad had this opportunity to come back.
Well, you definitely did it in dominant style, so congratulations to that. And next week, head to a little bit of a similar track, heading on over to Lanier. Do you think that's another track where you'll make it happen?
I'm not sure my schedule. My schedule's kind of day to day now. Um, but I think I could run good at Lanier. I've had good runs there. Like you said, it's very similar. It's just I think it's a little shorter straightaways. I know it's funny to say because lately don't seem like it has it when you're driving, but yeah, it's a very similar. I think it can be competitive there if I show up.
Good deal. Well, for now, I'll let you celebrate your win and your return here to the series. When the microphone's all yours, Mr. McRae, who you want to thank for making it happen?
Definitely ASRC. I mean, they put leagues up, they put information out. They're here, week after week, season after season. They're putting, it's a lot. And you just said season 11. That's that shows how long it's been going on for. And definitely the broadcast. I always enjoy going back, and if I don't watch the whole broadcast, sometimes I'll watch a couple of highlights and speed through it. But I do really enjoy that too. You always put on a good show. Um, even if everybody's following each other or if they're passing people. And your little bit of information you throw in there is always good too. And all the competitors, it's a lot of fun racing with them and dropping bombs and Sean made it worthwhile being in there. We just happened to randomly both just show up tonight, so it was a good time.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out, and I hope to see you next week. But if not, I'll see you when I see you.
I appreciate you. Have a good night.
Good deal. And finishing back in position number 2, Miss TJ Henson. I feel like every race we've had so far, in the first about 20 laps, I'm like, yep, I know who I'm talking to in my broadcast booth tonight, and then it doesn't quite work out. But tonight, you've made it up here. How you feeling now that everything's said and done?
Honestly, I'm just glad I finished in the top 5. The juxtaposition between my starting positions and my finishing positions this season has been wild. Like it's what is it, 1-2-2 and like 7-7-2.
Yeah, that looks about right, pretty much. But this might be the start of the good streak. I don't want to jinx anything here, but you put on a really
Oh, I'm already
impressive
jinxing
display tonight.
myself.
Well, there, I don't have to take blame for it then. It works out.
Yeah, I thought I maybe could have gotten to his bumper, but I didn't have the pace to it. Lots of good fun around the field. A little bit of going on after the race, but other than that, just really fun race.
Yeah, and next week, heading on over to Langley National Speedway. A little bit of a round 2 of tonight's race. You think you might have what it takes to make it happen next week?
Weirdly enough, I'm confident going into there. I did well in officials last season, so I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, well, here's hoping. You never know what'll happen. And going in tonight, you are 7th in the championship standings. Not quite sure how it's looking now, but that should bump you up a couple of spots. So who knows? It's a long season ahead of us still, but you might just make it happen here this season.
Mm-hmm.
That said, though, I won't keep you all night. I know you got stuff to do. So the microphone's all yours, Miss Henson. Who you want to thank for getting up here tonight?
Thinking just the league and everything y'all do. It's great. Brian for introducing me to it as well, and just yeah. I don't have sponsors.
Fair enough. We got to fix that. We got to find you some sponsors. But thank you for coming out. And I look forward to seeing you next week at Lanier.
Yep.
And let's see here. Finishing back in position number 3, Mr. Sabelski. How you feeling here this evening?
Well, had to drive through the field. I took an EOL on that after I bumped Heather. I just felt like that was the right thing to do, regardless of whether it was like incidental or not. You know, the rule is if you bring out a yellow and it's your fault, you're supposed to kind of self-police. And I figured, you know what, I'll set the example that you want to set for everyone. So I ended up back in 7th and had to drive through the field. I think even though I'm only showing up 3rd here, I'm very happy and impressed with the performance. I was able to keep up with Tyler for most of the race, which was just something that almost never happens, it feels like. So I don't know if it was just the setup was off tonight and he was just a little slower, or if I was quicker, or if there's been some kind of change with how I'm driving the car now that I've actually figured out how to go fast in this thing. But yeah, having to kind of run back through the field to get the 3rd was really it was something else. And also I want to make sure I give a couple of the quick shout outs here to people. We just talked to TJ, and she had finally had something that finish that kind of matches what her pace is, and I'm really happy for her because she's out qualified me all 3 races this season, twice on pole, and then tonight was P2, and just has not had the luck to kind of match the qualifying results. And tonight finally kind of had that opportunity and almost actually got really close to a win here. And also just a real quick shout out, I was a little frustrated with him just because he was defending really well and racing me really hard, but Nick Cashman in P4 there raced really hard, but was very clean. I've not raced with him a whole lot. Obviously, he's new to the league, so you know when you're around new people, it's always really you're kind of paying attention to see how their car control is and see how they kind of race going off the corners, and you build that trust and your confidence that you can race somebody side by side, and not have to worry about getting doored or hooked or something like that. I think tonight, after all that, I think. Nick, I'll definitely feel a little more comfortable racing around. I know I can kind of trust to battle them side by side without, getting wrecked.
Yeah, definitely quite a battle y'all put on here this evening. And I'll tell you what, even before this race started, back when we were in practice, when you saw Tyler McRae's name show up on that sign-up sheet, was there any sort of shift in what your strategy was going to be for this evening?
Yeah. I was like, oh, Tyler's back. That's good. It's good to have him back. Like as much as he beats me in a lot of these races on pace, and he's 20 seconds ahead, it feels like. He's a good guy to race. He races clean, hard. It's good to have him in the league, and I appreciate that he always comes out and says good things about it. It's good to have him. And it sounds like that he's going to be a little more hit or miss this season. with scheduling stuff, and that sucks. But always good to see some familiar faces and have to work for it. I had to work for it tonight to even get back up to third. But yeah, I definitely had a little bit of shift in strategy, and I kind of was like, okay, I'm not just going to get on pole and just take off. I'm going to have to figure out, if there's a spot where I can maybe, if he's trying to save fuel to the end, do I go in and take 2 tires and a little splash of fuel and just try and outrun him at the end? That was the initial strategy after I knew he was going to be here. And that caution came on like lap 40, and I was just like, well, we're all going in now. We were all good to fuel to the end, and I was like, all right, I'll take 2 tires to try and get him out of the pits, and he did the same thing. So it's like we were doing the same thing all night, and I got back down within a second at the end, even though I was like at one point I was like 1.5 back of him, and I was fighting with Nick. So give me another 10. 20 laps, I'm probably back on that bumper, trying to fight for the win.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, next week we are heading to Lanier, so we do have a little bit of a round 2 of this going on. Do you think maybe if Tyler shows up next week, you'll be able to take it home from him?
I'm not 100% certain on that. It's going to come down to how the car feels next week. I do love these short tracks. I always enjoy running these races. They're fun. If I can run tonight, next week, like I ran tonight, as far as how close I was in the end, I think I may have something that can get up to the front.
Good deal. Well, I definitely am excited to see how it ends up playing out next week. But for now, the microphone's all yours, Mr. Sabelski. Who do you want to thank for getting it done here tonight?
Well, as always, thank the fine folks at Coney Setup Shop, the official setup shop of eNASCAR. Great crowd. Glad them on board as a sponsor across all my cars. Thank Jason and ASRC for putting us on, doing the league thing. Obviously, SM Racing for sponsoring, and for the wonderful button and switch box I have mounted to my rig. Everyone hanging out on Twitch, good to have you all here. Really happy, as always, to have a crowd tonight to do my thing in front of. And of course, thanks to you for doing the broadcasting, and my partners that I'm an ambassador for, which were Take This and Pause Your Game, 2 really good charities. And we'll be back next week, and we'll see tomorrow. I might actually be able to make that road race at Laguna Seca in '86. So maybe a little bit of a heads up for everyone to buckle down.
Good deal. Well, as always, thank you for coming out, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Yep. Catch you later.
You heard it here first, race fans. Your top 3 finishers here this evening: Tyler McRae, TJ Henson, and Ryan Sabelski getting it done here at the Langley Speedway. Of course, plenty of other drivers out here in the grid, though. Let's take a look at our finishing results as they stand right now. Of course, these are unofficial, so they are subject to change, but as it stands right now, following our top 3 finishers here this evening, Nick Cashman's going to bring it on home in the 4th position, with Eric Gunn rounding out the top 5 here tonight. Jason Gardner going to bring it home, position number 6, with Curtis Prince back in P number 7 with their best ever finish so far this season. Nico Morelli's going to bring home position number 8, followed by Derek Murphy in position number 9. And Sean Patrick in the 10 car, rounding out the top 10 here this evening. And finally, round out the tail end of the field here, Bill Watkins in 11th, Jason Mong, position number 12, Patrick Dixon in 13th, and Dave Sierrick rounding out the field here this evening. 14 cars here at the Langley Speedway. What a heck of a race it has been. Unfortunately, though, that's just about all we got here from Hampton, Virginia here tonight. Next week, heading on down to Brazelton, Georgia for Lanier National Speedway. Really a track that's not all too different from Langley. So if you liked what you saw tonight, expect a little bit of similar action next week at the Langley Speedway. A little bit of a shorter track than this one, slightly more banking, but a whole lot of short track action. For now, though, thank you all for tuning in, race fans, and I look forward